Just let me check a few things out. So the first thing I need to do is we'll put it on record. The recording's in progress.
Yeah, this meeting is being recorded and its content is being sent to a third party. Okay,
Oh, right.
thank
Oh,
you
is that
very
what that
much.
says? Okay, then.
Okay.
Right. Okay. It's gone live on here like that. So if I go down here, discernment is key. There we are. Now, do you want me to tag you on here? That'll go straight
Yeah.
to your live
Yes,
page.
please, darling. That would be lovely.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
what's that on here? If I put like one of them A things there like that. All right. At. And then I'll put, bear with us, chaps. I'm just working this out. We'll be with you in a moment. And I'll put Lisa, Lisa Raylan. And then I'll send it. So that will go to your page now. So that should be live on your page. Claire Toner Kelly is watching. Claire, Happy New Year,
Hello.
my love. I hope you're keeping well. Lisa, it's so lovely to see you.
Always lovely to see you, Joe.
It's
Thank you.
it's been quite a while actually since you and I had a live thing. Quite a few years, I think it was.
Is it?
Yeah,
It
I think
is,
it,
yeah. In fact, the whole of last year, it was massive. It was massive energetically. I don't think I did very much out there. I had the most biggest ego death. I want to call it an ego death. Probably
yeah,
could have had a better words, but
yeah, well,
yeah,
whatever comes out,
what do you
comes
call this
out.
stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of new of me arriving. So, you know, we can only prepare when we're ready. Do you know what I mean? Or yeah, when we've prepared or readied or whatever those words are too. You
I,
know,
I agree entirely. I think trying to force anything doesn't work because I
no,
mean, many years ago, I completely surrendered and handed my will and my life over to the care of the universe or
absolutely.
spirit or whatever. You've gone now. You've gone. You're just like a number L again or a letter L. Stop
I've
messing
got
about.
someone coming in. Hello.
Yeah,
Can you can you still hear me?
I can. I can.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I sort of let go of the management of every aspect of my life. To be honest with you, Lisa, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just following somebody else's instructions who'd already been through the same process.
Right.
And it was coming up to 33 years ago. In a couple of weeks' time, it'll be 33 years ago since I let go completely. And in that time, I haven't had another drink. It just left me. I don't take any mind-altering substance. So I've lived a clean and sober life
Beautiful.
well, relatively sober. My wife, Catherine, well, she'll have something different to say about that. But yeah, no, so in that time, and what I do basically is it's really simple for me. I just wake up in the morning, I sort of open my heart up and I try and listen in and say, what would you like me to do today? Now, at least I know this is not something that's outside of me. It's something that's coming from within me. So,
Yeah.
and it's done me good. I don't drink, my life's changed around completely. From one day to the next, I've got no idea what the hell's going on, and that's true. But
Mhm.
I get a sense of that I'm being moved to take action in line with something that I've got no idea of.
I totally agree and know it. You know, we're moving through this massive spell of information that is, we're talking about discernment, but we're moving from one thought form that we used to think
Yeah.
to another thought form that we know is in from our innate. And we have to now get with that program of what that is establishing itself for us and through us. And although we can relate to being really good and not doing anything and doing our work and blah, 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 actually, we've all really changed
Yeah.
so much that it has no words. It's a cognitive condition, isn't it? So we understand. This is what dissonance is. We understand. We have a newer, keen perception. We have a newer way of judging and looking. But the way that we used to do that might have similarities, but actually, it's all changed because we are not those beings that we were last year, or 33 years ago, or even though this medicine is an ongoing medicine, it's important to know that discernment is in the moment when you are being smacked around the head with it. When I think the biggest gift.
You've gone again.
With me. I'm not, I'm still, it just keeps turning off. I've got a couple of people here who have recently passed over, and your mum is probably the third one in line here with playing, and
it'll be my mother then. Mother, stop it.
Come here.
Yeah, scallywag.
I was saying about dysfunction is our greatest gift, actually, next to discernment, because without dysfunction of anybody else's stuff or our stuff or how we dysfunctionally behave in the world, we wouldn't know how to command our full authority and move into a new space, for instance, because what we're really learning through discernment is how to trust ourselves. Because we don't really know what trust is, because we've been, the stargates or wonderful information that we're breathing back online through ourselves, but we've given ourselves and our power over to all of those other entities that have closed those stargates, kept that momentum of information. And we're an ascension portal. Gaia herself, we are the guardians of Gaia, and her as an ascension portal, in our ancient past, we've allowed other beings, by giving our trust away, to discern that for us. But actually, that's no longer possible. It's no longer possible. And so we've now having to step right up into this very cognitive understanding and remembering of ourselves, because this is the energy moving through us currently, isn't it? All of it, the creator, manifester, we're being brought to that center, that middle point. You talk about the magnetosphere, that whole torus field, but we're dead center. We're on that plane of existence. But this information that comes in from Gaia's libraries now, the understanding that we're coming in on a new level. You were saying about being leaders of leaders, and this brand new information isn't new. We're really, really remembering. And this whole truth, it's not about getting lost in the lies. It's not about getting lost in who's right and who's wrong anymore. It's about going to the moment that you're in and recalling the power that's been lost or robbed from you, and then generating it, and then going, okay, back online.
Beautiful.
I've had these amazing experiences recently about being, it's a funny thing to say actually, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. I've been beaming myself from a mothership into this vessel and this divine intelligence. I talked about it a little while ago, but it's still happening, but I'm much more stable in this environment, and my body has become an environment of abundance. And I understand it at a new level. The words are the same, but the discernment of that feels so big and so powerful and so generous. Yeah.
See, I get DI, divine intelligence. So AI will overcome, DI will overcome AI. Because I get, like you, I get things, they fly in, and I think, well, okay, what are you going on about now? Please explain to me. But I know that we've moved out of this linear thing quite clearly now into this multimodal. These are the words that come. Beautiful. Multimodal, multiple intelligence, multiple aspects of the one consciousness divided into 12 streams, right? Yes. With 12 frequencies, all with a bit of different information, but also with a different skill and ability attached to it. So this is really by letting go, because we've got nothing to get hold of. That's been the problem. We've needed to go externally and get hold of stuff, but we've clogged our heads up with stuff that's not important. And I got told many years ago by the bloke who was guiding me at the time, he said, Joe, he said, you know a lot, he said, because you keep saying, I know. He said, but you've just said to me that you've been trying to take your own life. He said, so it's clear that everything that you know is not worth a carrot. And I thought, oh God, he's right. He told me, He called me a knowledgeable idiot, right? He said it's clear that you can keep hold of information, but it's obstructing you from what you need to know. He said you're intellectual, but you're not using or allowing your intuition to guide you. And that to me is the process that the whole of humanity is going through at the moment.
I
That we
agree.
need, in my view, and it's just the way I say things, we're going through a collective rock bottoming, right? Where
Yeah,
we need to feel the pain of hanging on so that we can let go of it. And there's some people who can let go easily because they get the info, and there's most people who hang on for grim death or grim life or whatever. So really, I think my job, this is what I get told, and Lisa, I don't know who's telling me these things. It's just streams of information that comes in, and I accept it because in my own life it works only if I take the action.
I agree.
Because it's the spiritual life, in my view, is not a theory, it's a program of action. And that's
Beautiful.
balancing out karma. So the way we balance out karma is we take the opposite actions that have kept us pinned down. Lisa, I didn't know any of this stuff. I'm like a dyed in the wool scientist. And when all these things started to happen and people started to tell me, I'd think, what a load of old crap, right? But guess what? The ancient Hebrews used to call this world that we live in, this 3D world, the 1% world, because there's 99% of other stuff going on in invisible realms that most people have got no idea about.
That's right.
But I know now that it's only by stopping and just almost surrendering to say, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm going to breathe like this here, and I'm going to try and relax. And I'm going to say, give us a clue. And I think it is that simple.
Beautiful. I
Once you
do.
and once you start feeling the feeling, because I mean, just before we came on, didn't we? We were talking, and all these sort of energies came round and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And that's sort of see it here now. I get right up me, it goes like that. And I sometimes get a feeling like it's probably my mother, slap on the back of the head, pay attention, son, pay attention. But you and I, we've talked a lot over the years, and we've met up in person and stuff like that. And some people think in the field that I work in medicine, most people think I'm round the bend and crackers, and what's happening is that's turning round now because people are coming to me to say, you'll never guess what's just happened to me. And I think, oh, here we go. There we go.
Absolutely. I
So,
think the whole world is there now.
yeah,
I wanted to say something that was really important to me, actually, but important to the world. And I've had it for about 4 days now. And I heard very distinctly and very loudly everyone who's leaving the planet now are actually taking the last fragments of the density with them because there is nothing, no other platform that could do it. And our parents live, they are the last ones to live in the suppressed to suppress society because after them there's no possibility because we're back on call, we're back in, and they birthed us to bring this online. Our first port of call of knowing, Joe, as we know, is our first journey is through the mother's womb.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this is where we've now arrived. This whole birthing intensity as now we're now in the world and we're just about to walk and talk.
yeah,
And this walking and talking is like the what I call that magnetosphere, the middle pillar. It's Mother Earth's, Gaia's Akashic libraries, wide open for us all to look at, to be part of. And this higher intelligence, we don't know who's talking, but it's all us.
yeah,
Every bit
yeah,
of it's us. I no longer look in a separated version of me. And sometimes I go, oh, you're just a green giant energy. Fantastic.
yeah,
Mine. You're me. Come on, let me, what do I need to know in that? But for those who don't live at the higher echelons of this light, it's really difficult to get past the ego mind and to understand that actually once they do get past those moments of, and it's pure insanity, it feels pure insanity. We've done it. We've been there, right? And God, I think that we have to now set up a key code for ourselves. So, for instance, in the morning before I arrive in my body, because I'm not anywhere until I stand up and go walk around and go, oh yeah, I'm stumbling. Here I am. I'm going to make coffee and blah blah blah. But before then, I'll go, what does Lisa need? What does Lisa need to do the day? And it's and because I don't. although I am a beautiful divine feminine, right, I don't look at it in the law of masculine or feminine or wrong or right, or because it can't be a one-sided relationship inside me anymore. My ego used to make me look at avenues of information, and I had to travel down a track, but actually it's a push and a pull.
Yeah,
and when you're pushing the first journey, it's always the first journey, because we're repeating the journey all of the time in everything, like a Mandelbrot. We're repeating it. It might have another flavor or another word, but it's the same push. And the same pull takes it into the atmosphere and worlds of worlds, wherever you are, whether you're in dream state or whether you're in a physical being moment. And this doesn't last very long, because we're always chasing. There's so much. It's so exciting because we're always chasing something. But if we can get a little gift to ourselves before we start our day, because most of us are running half-cocked. You know, you're either running in your divine feminine energy or your divine male energy, whatever that is, or your push or your pull, because that is how you've shaped your life. You know, you may have to go to court. You may have to go to the hospital. You may, these things, and the way that we have to bring ourselves into our double Taurus, because it is a double Taurus. It's as above, so below. It's a real thing. We don't look at it. We don't give it credence. We forget all about ourselves and the bigger picture. But what I'm being given is this dysfunction where we couldn't see before. It's coming wide online. We're really, you know, we're waking up to we're all waking up to a new level. But oneness is a key code. We can't think from a separated version of ourselves because it's not a real place anymore. We used to have planes of existence where we could sit on and talk from and say, and you know, every word I say makes no sense anymore. But obviously it does, because it's a language I've been speaking for a long time. But actually, there's this brand new language that has now, through our 20, 30 years of discernment, has now come online as words. And they're coming. I think that we're going to speak a new language in it, and it's nature. It's a new space-time continuum through us. It's called infinity, actually. I think the language is infinite. It's an infinite language of being, and nature knows it very well. And I'm having a moment now. And as we bring that through ourselves, we share, because I look at the trees all the time, and I see that their function is to remember that I'm a carbon-based being like them. But their purity of joy is to help me breathe, and that's my symbiotic relationship with it. The rest of the gifts, everything is a gift. You know, we say all this stuff, don't we? But really, it's the truth of our trust that we initiate with whatever we encounter, or we just get mind swiped. It's as easy as that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Of course, makes perfect sense. It's oceanic consciousness.
It's beautiful. That's
and
exactly.
So we're learning to breathe.
Primordial.
Yeah, we're learning to breathe underwater. As Elsa would say, you know, this is before maketh man. So this information that's coming to us is what they call preverbal. It's how we communicated with ourselves before we knew language, before we knew words. And it was through feelings, you know, and that's why I have my little joke is my F off approach to health and happiness, because F off stands for focus on feelings first, you know. Lovely. Because what's in here is stored information. And what we do, generally speaking, is information comes in and it sets up a pattern match with what's stored in our head. Well, that's no longer useful anymore.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we've, you know, so we need to, as I say, metaphorically, we need to take our heads off, throw them away, and just work from an open and flowing heart. How do we know that we're doing okay? Because we feel open and flowing. How do we know when we're in a position where we're out of alignment? Because we feel emotionally disturbed. Believe it or not, Lisa, and I know that you know this, and most of the people listening to this, there are nefarious forces who don't want us to get in touch with our innate wisdom,
That's
right?
right.
Because this is the source of true power is within us. But
Yes,
as we get closer and closer, or deeper and deeper, or higher and higher, or however people feel about that, we will begin to see things that have always been there. But it's almost like our senses, because I don't call it extrasensory perception, I call it expanded sensory awareness. And it
beautiful.
means that we're getting more and more, the information's coming in, but our radars are expanding in those five senses. So we're picking things up much earlier, and we're attaching to our feeling. Okay, what's that feeling? Need to step back. What is it that you're trying to show me, or what do I need to learn from this? And any negative emotional reaction, or this is just the way I've been taught, any negative emotional reaction is a judgment at some level, which
Yeah.
causes us to become misaligned with the truth. And so all we've got to do is we've got to say, please show me what action I need to take now in order to realign myself back with the truth of my own being, right?
Perfect. And that's
And
discernment.
and that's discernment. But if you're
Absolutely.
still in your head and you can't feel the feelings that your body and the signals that it's sending to you, you're still just going to go looping in a 3D consciousness. And that's what Groundhog Day is.
Absolutely.
But so, people like ourselves, I think that my job is to tell the truth and to deepen people's dilemmas. So when it happens to them, they'll think, he said that fella, it's his fault. But all I'm trying to say is, if you're feeling emotionally disturbed, don't take any action on that reaction. Take a step back, sit down, open your heart up, and say to your heart, or whatever, however you want to do that, what is it that you're trying to show me, please?
You know
End
what
of
you're
story.
really saying is that we've learnt to question. Most people don't question.
Yeah.
And I had this very same conversation last night at pub quiz with my lovely friend. And I said, yeah, but you're not questioning yourself. She went, oh, no, I'm not. She went, well, what have I done with the energy? I went, well, you've just put it over there. It hasn't really left, or it's waiting for you, actually. It's all just waiting for you. How do you trust yourself? How do you love yourself? How do you do that? You already know how to do it. But you see, once you open those doors, there's no going back, because this is the habit making of opening the doors within the consciousness. They're morphogenetic fields of consciousness, and they're waiting for the doors to be opened. And when we start to make a morphogenetic timeline within us, what we really have is all of this information that's just bursting like flowers, just waiting to pop open at you. So I say, I have a scale. I literally do a scale. Sometimes I go, you have a yes and no hand, don't you? Which is your yes hand? Which is your no hand? And if they can't do that, I go, okay, scale of 1 to 100. Don't think of anything whatsoever. The first thing that comes in, that's your innate, isn't it, talking to you? It's like, scale of 1 to 100, how much do you love yourself? First number, and then you go, and the fact that you've asked a question, because we are absolute consciousness and our electricity then starts to run all over the place, our emotional being goes, ooh, I like this. I really like this. I need more of this. And then they go, oh, well, no, I don't know how to do it. Ego mind comes in. Oh, no, I need to shut you down. So we have to kind of overcome these wonderful little stories that we tell ourselves. And it's all about, I always say it's all about sovereignty. How sovereign do you want to be? Yeah. How authentic to yourself? How much do you trust yourself? Why don't you? What's the point in giving all your power away? And they go, oh my God, that's what I'm doing. Of course you are. But these things are not talked about enough in the moment when it's being given to a place and time. And I think that's what we should be sharing all the time. That how much do you really trust yourself? Question yourself. Because I think that this coming online is going to be like, pew, pew, because we've taken all the energetic away from it that used to be, and it's just, we're super fast now, aren't we? We're like fiber optic,
Oh, absolutely.
10, 20,000.
Absolutely. And that fiber optic network, that's running through us now. So we've moved from electricity now to magnetism. And that's why I
Perfect.
call it a
Yeah.
magneto electric effect. Because as the heart opens, it's
Yeah.
called a charismatic. See, look, they're here with me now. Up your legs and
Beautiful.
everything. It's a charismatic effect. As the heart opens, this magnetic energy that drives the electrical system, the nervous system underneath. Right. If we can relax, do yoga, do Tai Chi, do meditation, have massages, anything to cause all these tubes to start flowing in the right direction, then we're really enthusiastic about life. And enthusiasm means to walk with God. I'm not a religious person, but it's
I
like
understand.
it's like the spirit flowing through us and guiding us. And it's
Yeah.
almost like, Lisa, well, you'll know, I don't know which way to go here. Which way shall I go? There's like a feeling comes in and it will guide you left. It's like we're being, navigated by Tom Tom, But when I've got Tom Tom in the car, it says turn left and my ego says, no, I know a shortcut. I'm going to go right here. And I'm still looking for the place an hour later. You know what I mean? So it's trusting that inner guidance. But because we've been programmed, psycho-cybernetic loops, right? We've
Yes.
got programs that immediately pattern match. We need to let go of the patterns. And what are the patterns? They're memories. They're
Yeah.
memories. So most of us are just living from the past. So if you can move beyond memory and just go into this sort of open space and try and trust the feeling, then it's my experience that that will probably be more helpful for people.
Yeah, I agree. We form habits about having anxiety attacks, don't we? We form habits about feeling the moment, having a panic, and then letting the energy move away and go, oh, okay, it's over. I needed to have a little bit of fire. We just don't take it back to basics. We're all these wonderful energetics. It's like we get lost in all the words because that's what we've been taught to do. That's the energy that kind of twists you up in the mind. But what you really have to feel is a little bit of fire, and then the water comes along. And then you go, oh, okay, I'll bring my ether in. And then my understanding comes back. Great, I just needed to let go. It's all about letting go, as you said. I
Fusion
love
of
it.
the 5 elements.
That's
And
it.
the ether, I mean, the ether, most people don't really understand, but ether, again, and I get plasma. So there's plasma coming from the sun that's being guided from the great central sun and all that. So that plasma, as above, so below, is actually impacting upon our own body's plasma, which is full of
Absolutely.
chemicals. So the magnetic energy will be guiding us. It will guide the electrical energy through the autonomic nervous system, which will impact upon various endocrine glands, which will
Yeah,
secrete various biochemical substances to the degree that the information's coming in. And that will then produce various biochemical substances, which will flood our plasma, which will then be the sort of soup that our stem cells are sitting in. And our stem cells,
exactly.
and that's exactly how this works. But we can't. I mean, people will say, "Oh, you can do it with your head and do it." No, no. Get your head out of the way and just open up and say, "Will you change me, please?" Because to me, it's like it's our next level of evolution that's guiding us. It's nothing
Absolutely.
outside of us. It's our next evolutionary step.
We're moving back into a plasma consciousness, and
Yeah.
plasma has a language. We're moving back into the alignment of how it wants to bring its truth out in our understanding of itself. And I think that that's the divine intelligence that's coming through our networks of information currently. It's through plasma intelligence that we're going to be able to eradicate, and that's the word I really want to, that's being kind of given out there. We are now eradicating that which no longer serves where we've moved to, because there's no possible timeline that it can exist on in this beautiful space that we now occupy. And that is the absolute truth. And as my cognitive mind wants to kind of put more words to that, do you know what? It needs nothing.
No,
It needs nothing except I know it. So I trust how that wants to show itself in my life, and how it wants to be shared, how it wants to bring in transformations. That's
I
it.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I think that if our ego can let go and be done to, you mentioned push and pull because I get Doctor Doolittle, and that when I get that in, right, what I get is that means just sit, Joe. There's
Yeah.
nothing to do
Beautiful.
at the moment. Just sit in that quiet space, and when we need you, we'll give you the shove, right? And that's what I go with, Lisa. I don't need to know. It's the ego that needs to know, just in case it doesn't like what's coming up, so it can duck and dive and dodge and weave, right? And it might go down for another few years in the same old circle. The idea is, if you feel emotionally disturbed, there's probably an action that needs taken. Sometimes it can clearly see, and you can say, oh, I see what that is now, and then it dissolves. But like you said, I mean, I get the word, decontamination. We're going through a process of cleansing now,
Absolutely.
and this sacred feminine energy that's coming in on the shift, that's working through our vagus nerve and the polyvagal system. It's a feminine energy, so it's associated with rest, recovery, recuperation, and relaxation.
Lovely.
Because these forces are trying to get us to go faster and faster and faster, right? There's no problem. Think quickly, act slowly.
Nice.
And I know I get all the time when people are trying to push me, what comes out to me is just go slower, Joe, and it'll piss them off and they'll get disturbed. But it's because they're pushing you and their disturbances because you're not behaving in a manner that they think you should, right? And I've had to learn this myself, because I mean, I was a massive control freak, and this bloke who helped me, called the sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous, he said to me, Joe, he said, you try and manipulate your external circumstances to suit the way that you feel and your mood. He said, you're a narcissist, Joe. You're a control freak. And at first, I couldn't handle it, right? I thought, who the flipping heck is this fella think he is? But I see now that I can't have peace of mind if I'm trying to manipulate the external circumstances. I've got to turn my head on, turn round, look in, and say, what is it in me that I need to let go of?
Isn't that a wonderful way of understanding how personal discernment has come about for us, though? We hear someone say something that absolutely fucking pisses us off, right? And it just catalyzes us into a different type of action, whether we're angry or what means, it's movement, or we bury our head. Yeah. And I think the old version of us that we were educated to be was the narcissistic ostrich. So we couldn't really engage because we didn't know what level of engagement we could ever move into, because it was never defined. And then the rebels had to come. The rebels, the misfits, the artists, the real artists of life had to come in. 1996, mine came in. I get it. It's like my whole world blew apart, because up to that point, there's just this churning over of old consciousness that's painful. This wanting to disengage from life because it's so horrible. And yet, in reality, the other side of that magnetosphere is this absolute joy, but you're not taught it. You're not taught how to grasp it, to look at it, to understand it, or to even feel it. And fundamentally, how we've been taught to disengage from life itself and each other and ourselves is now on the absolute tipping point. We are now, what have we got left? Because actually we've learned everything from it. That divine intelligence has breathed its life force through us, Joe, and it can see absolutely everything in all those realms that we created. But the realm now is obsolete. Like you said, now it's being declared, it's obsolete. There's nothing left that could be seen or created from it. So now we have to go up again, the next level, the next harmonic of that absolute intentional space. And we created all of it, absolutely every bit of it. And it's when we don't own it and we stand in that judgment and we blame other people and we project, oh, it's them, they've taken all the jobs, they've done this, they've done that, blah, blah, blah. And they believe this kind of dialogue that goes on. It's like, this is now coming to a stop point because people are starting to see themselves. And I love that. Humanity is awake and alive like ants. We're all coming back to the motherboard, right? I see it as a motherboard.
Oh, I do clearly see it. And motherboard matrix means motherboard essentially, you
Yeah,
know, and it is a sort of illusion, and it is all about mind at some level, and it's about all aspects of the one mind, you know. So I
yeah,
see that in my father's or mother's house, there are many mansions, meaning there's all sorts of different attributes, skills, frequencies, dimensions, everything, you know. I see the same as you. I mean, the biggest thing I've been told, and the thing that's helped me more than anything else is, and if I can get this across and it helps people, if you're feeling emotionally disturbed, right, it can't be the divine in you because that can't get disturbed. It must be some sort of ego threat, right? But when you're in it, you want to point outwards. And I got told again is you're pointing the finger, there's three fingers coming right back at you.
that's
And
right.
they're I, self, me. They're the little, and two things, there's only two things that can block the flow of this divine intelligence energy. And it's fear on the one hand, and it's pride on the other. And fear is the gut, and pride is the head. And the
Yeah,
heart is in the middle of those. That's the moderator, the regulator. So if you get a grip in the gut, because there's physiological reactions that go with this, that's just blood shunting from your inside to your outside because you're on the defensive, because there's lots of physiology. But if you feel that grip in the gut, take a step back, open your heart, let it settle down, and when you've got a bit more peace, then ask for the solution. It really is. It's called mindfulness. And
yeah,
most of us who thought we were mindful were actually mindless, right? And I see that clearly.
yeah, yeah.
Lisa, I thought I knew what I was talking about. I look back and it's like a laugh now. I didn't have a clue.
I understand. You know, for a very long time, I didn't have the words for the understanding that I could share through my hands, my healing. You know, I love miracles. I love, love, I love, love. I can't tell you. It's just, it's, it's, it's who we are, but it's so much more. It's a consciousness that is all consciousnesses, every movement of it, every every joint that it joins up with, but it's all of us, and it is the driving force. And I think that the way that we need to be able to interact with our love, obviously it's forgiveness, because if you don't forgive,
Yeah.
you can't ever forget stuff, but that's okay, you're working. I think that that's part of the dysfunction that's supposed to bring us into place, bring us into play to understand what our discernment is. And it's hard sometimes to let things go. It plays on and on and on in your fields. But we have to come to this awareness that it's always there for a reason. Where even if it's poking you all the time, it's there, and you have to come to a, because that's the current energy moving through you in the present, whatever that is. It's important to know that it's whatever you call it, whatever you want it to do. Like you said, you can say, I just say, what do I need to know?
Yeah.
Keep it
Lisa.
simple. Just keep it simple. What do I need to know in this moment? And then there it is, because your heart is exposing itself. You are exposing yourself to that which I call love. It's innate. It's your innate understanding.
People say to me, why did you do that? And I say, because I felt like it. Right.
Yeah,
And when my heart's open,
because I can.
that's all I need because I felt like it. And really, the freedom that we have is two things as simple as anything else is. If your heart's open and flowing, right, and somebody asks you, do you want to do something? You can say to yourself or to your heart, do you want to do it? Yes or no? No. And I say, no, thank you. Why not? Because I don't feel like it. Or
Perfect.
yes, please. What, you know, because I feel like it. It's that's called free will choice.
That's
And it's
right.
not being influenced by anybody else. Because I mean, you get better at this, don't you? And as your radar extends, you get better at realizing how we've allowed ourselves to be manipulated. And
People
really,
pleasing.
people pleasing, exactly, took the
It's
words
people
right out of my
pleasing.
mouth. And
Yeah.
and I was told very clearly, Joe, you're people pleasing because of your feelings and not theirs.
Yeah.
Because you think that if you tell them your truth, they'll be upset, right? It's not about them being upset, Joe. You're trying to protect yourself all the time. This bloke said to me, and I wanted to kill him. It saved me bleeding life, to be honest with you. He said to me, "You're probably one of the most selfish people I've ever met."
Ooh,
And I was like
okay.
Saint Joseph. People used to come to me when I was on the drink and everything. I could tell them how they needed to sort their lives out. And I was trying to kill me bleeding self all the time. Their lives were getting better. They were going promoted, getting more money and everything. And I'm like killing myself. It's just a laugh to me. But here's the thing. Loads and loads and loads of people now are going through hell. Relationships are going through hell. And that's because this shift that's coming in, it's like a mirror. Right, it's like almost like it's getting closer and closer, and people know what instant karma is. If you
Yeah,
take an action or you even have a thought that's against the truth of who you really are, it will cause you emotional disturbance.
that's
Right.
right. It really
But,
will.
and this, I get this all the time. Tell them, Joe, oh, here we go again. Tell them what? Tell them, Joe, that your heart or their soul will guide them, but it will have to be in a sequence. Right. It's in a sequence because your head may think that you need to go and do one thing, but your heart will tell you go and turn left when you want to go right. So it's trusting this thing, not knowing or having any expectations, Lisa, where it's
Yeah,
guiding us.
that is it. When we expect, it always changes because that's such a heavy. That's the judgment. That's not discernment. Expectation is not discernment. It's an outcome where we want to control, isn't it?
It
Always.
is. And we don't know, because most people that try and help me, they did it because they were sensitive, they were trying their best, but most of the time it's interfering actually and disabling behavior. It takes something to be able to say to somebody, this is what I feel, right? And if they get upset, then that's their problem to look at their emotional self. This
Yeah.
is tough. This no one's pretending that this is easy because it's like hell sometimes.
It took
But
me a long time, Joe, to learn to not worry about other people's stuff. We're so heavily invested and educated to worry. We're pitted against each
we
other.
are, we are.
From it's like the teacher would say, and I've heard it, let's all look at so and so who hasn't got homework.
Yeah.
That it starts so early that this cognitive dissonance in our mind is a relative function that we condition ourselves with and everyone around us. And we believe that that's normal behavior. When you're saying earlier about knowing your truth or bringing the truth in, it's like your free will. Do you want to do that? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's like, don't think about what you should do. It's like, it's allowing that brainwave, all that learning that you've had so far to not be there. It's like, if you could just start again in this moment. When I say that, I just come to this, oh, it's just really gentle, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
There's nothing there at
yeah.
all. There's nothing
But
in there.
and that's that like neutral space, isn't it, where you can relax. You
Yeah.
sometimes get like a great big menu of options that you can do, like a carousel, isn't it? Do I fancy that one? Oh, here's a go. Oh, that's the one I'll go with today. So there's so many different things that you can choose
But no
to
one
get.
knows they have a choice.
No, exactly, exactly. And the thing is, I mean, I used to call myself a programmed automaton, thinking I knew what was going on, but really no idea at all, because all the choices were coming below the level of my consciousness.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was tuned in, but really there was four-fifths under the surface making the choices for me,
Yeah.
because feelings are more powerful than thinking. And that's a hard one when you realize it's fearful feelings that are driving your choices and telling you that it isn't. Right. That's
Absolutely. I think I've spent my life with that,
well,
actually.
and
Yeah.
Lisa, I mean, people say to me, "Oh, you know all this stuff." I honestly do not know what's going on most of
I
the
can
time.
honestly say I don't know anything.
They're exactly
I
that. I'm
like
not.
to say that. I don't know anything at all. It will
I
make you
say,
think I do. But actually, when it comes down to it, it's like, oh, because
I
it's,
say it in a different way. I say, "Fuck if I know." Don't ask me any questions. I don't even know what I'm going to do in my own life. So please don't
absolutely.
ask me what you should do. You know what I mean? So we're doing all right. How are we doing for time? What I'm thinking is it's quarter
Okay.
to now. Can you just see what's coming up and simple, straightforward techniques of how people maybe can
Absolutely.
expand their sensitivity, understanding that they're picking up information a bit earlier and how to discern more clearly. Let's go for that.
Yeah. I have a process. I think that the key to yourself is to know how you tick. How do you learn? I think if you're a teacher, if you're a good teacher, the first thing that you should do is learn how your learners learn, right? Because if you don't know how people learn, your teaching is shit.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Because you haven't got a clue what you're doing, and you don't even know if they know what you're saying. So what's the point? So I think that we have to learn and realize and look at how we learn information. That's the first thing ever. Who are you? Is it visual? Is it audio? What works for you first? Let's look at that. How do you like to react to things? What's your normal reaction to life if you get pissed off or something happens? Would you automatically panic? What would you do? And I would start right there. But my first thing I would ever do, and I still do it. So if someone comes to have a session with me and they're more in their mind than their spiritual life, the first part is I have a threefold law. It's hope and truth and trust. So that's my scale. On a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you love yourself? On a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you trust yourself? On a scale of 1 to 100, how much hope do you put forward in your life? Because it's faith. Faith and hope, they come in the same thing. If you're addressing somebody who doesn't love themselves, they can't hear. They live in an ego mind, they live in an ego world, and they're ruled by everybody else's opinion except their own. So the first thing to do is to find your voice. What does your beautiful, loving voice want to say to you? Because then you're in. And there's no escaping yourself then, because you can hear yourself. And that's the best medicine ever. How much you trust yourself, how much you love yourself. And if you get I've had people who go, I only love myself 7%. I went, okay, let's imagine, because now this is what your imagination is. We've got to play games with ourselves, right? The whole world is games. Why not play the games? So you got to say to yourself, okay, if I could just shower all that off, the other percentage, because I don't know what it is and I won't engage with it right now until I have to, but if I just showered it off, I'll just bring online and keep loving myself and loving myself, pouring it into myself till I get to 100%. And then all of a sudden, you've changed all of your physiology at your cellular level because you're interacting, completely interacting, because you're all one. I keep reminding people, you do realize that you're an absolute God. Because, as in you're walking God like that. I mean, you're an absolute God or goddess, because everything inside you is looking up to you for advice. So what will you do? Yeah. What are you going to tell it? And your water, we all know water, 80% of ourselves, we're recoding it. So everything you've ever said and heard. So let's clean the waters. So I like to get imaginative, you see. I like to go, right, let's just go and imagine that we're letting all the slushy old water out and we're showering ourselves with golden diamond liquid. I always work with crystalline diamond golden liquid, and I pour it into pineal glands, hypothalamus glands, pituitary glands, the amygdala. It all stores everything. As you said, it's the endocrine system. Nice little tap on your thymus. Come on, hello, wake up. I want to know what you do. Thank you. Simple as that. I want to know what love is. Question. We have to now stop questioning, and that's how we start it off. But that's my threefold moment, Joe. It's love, and it's trust, and it's faith, or faith and hope. How much do you have of that? That's where you start it off.
Beautiful, beautiful. See, I've got the technique I was shown is the simple breathing technique to open the gates of the heart.
Absolutely.
And it's really going from, most people breathe from 12 to 15 breaths a minute at rest. It's to try and slow that down. And if you can get down to 6 breaths per minute, there's science, this is neuroscience. It's when the so-called masculine and the feminine sides of our nature and the left and the right hemispheres, it's when they start to cooperate then. And information starts to, instead of them knocking shit out of each other and jumping,
Yeah.
it's like if you look at scales, most people are jumping from one scale to the next and there's no balance. But this is the thing, is to go to the third eye, if you like, on the balance point in the heart. It's almost like a quadrilateral thing, really, rather than a trinity. But it's to go to the heart. And what happens then is you come out of that balance, right? And then it just sort of balances by itself when you're out of it. You know, there's all sorts of. So the idea with that is that then opens the heart up. And it brings you into touch then with a different feeling completely.
Absolutely.
And then people will start, that's when we realize, or most people have told me, they realize that they're not a human, they're not a spirit on a human, you know, that one, a human with a spirit, but they're a spirit having a human journey, because they start to feel a different energy moving through them.
Yeah.
So that's just the opening then. And then it's to sit with that, to question, like you say, and say, look, to be humble about it and say, look, I really don't know what I'm doing now, right? I feel a bit silly doing this, but if you can give us a clue, is there anybody in there? Right. And then wait to see what happens and give it a fair trial, because you feel a bit bloody stupid to start with. And then it starts moving. And I can guarantee you, you just got to make that little step of possibility. I wonder if there is some sort of way. And like you said, my whole work is about information. Right?
Yes.
It's about receiving information. It's about then perceiving, because it's all about perception, because you'll see the world slightly different than me. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are.
Yeah,
and that's what causes us to be individuals, because we need to see things slightly differently, but to work together for the same purpose, to make the world a better place. Beautiful. And as we sink deeper and deeper and start to understand our own internal operating system, it's almost like when you start to see something in you, you immediately see it in other people then.
Right. Absolutely.
And the worst thing that you can do is, without permission, is start pointing it out to them. So my thing is, you know, if you tell people, if they ask you, how do you see this? And you tell them, this is how I see it. This is what I feel about it. If they kick off, that's got nothing to do with you.
Absolutely that.
So, you know, you know, and I think that we need to do this. And you might have a completely diametrically opposite viewpoint than me, but the idea would be is, that's great, thank you for sharing that, and then to move on. But we get that no, you're not right and I'm more right, and we get into all that.
Yeah, it's that's the old game, you see.
Is.
I think that's the game that's now just going to be highlighted and then left behind, because we've needed to see that, but now we have to go, oh yeah, I use these words for the same words that you're using. I can see, and then you see we're coming to balance. So in order to balance is that we have to come to an agreement in the, okay, you say it differently, I say it this way, but it means the same thing. We just have our own alphabet and our own dialogue on what that means. So when you're talking about breath, I'm like, oh yeah, because actually what I would say is, breathe into your heart, breathe into your pineal gland, breathe into, because it's our breath of awareness, our breath of compassion, our breath of movement. It's our breath that is our life. You know, that is our life. It's how we maintain our life.
Well, the way breath moves is the way energy moves, isn't it? This is the whole thing. And as Buddha is reputed to have said, just become aware of your breathing.
Yes.
That's it. It is that simple. And, you know,
I say, breathe like a river. Breathe like a river. What does that feel like? Are you fast flowing?
Yeah.
Are you a little tiny still brook? Breathe like a river. See the river, see the sunlight coming, and feel that plasma just touching you from the moment that you're now in perception of it. But just feel the river, whatever it's doing for you. That's your flow. Completely.
I agree. And I think if you can become aware of your breathing, become aware of the mood of your breathing or the quality of your breathing, you can stick a smile in behind any negativity and you can breathe that away. Because I have a mantra. And it's breathe in the light, breathe out the shite. right? That's it. Because if you're breathing it in, it's like I'll use a sort of crystalline golden cleansing energy. I'm breathing it in. It's going in through my nostrils. It's going through all my nooks and crannies and every single cell, picking up the shit and then breathing it out. But if you can also move with it as well, like in Tai Chi, and you can do some movements, it's almost like you get a feeling that all the shit's coming out of your fingertips and out the end
Yeah.
of your toes. And then the other
Yeah.
thing I do is I open 2 holes in the soles of my feet connected to Mother Earth. So you can breathe in and you can draw all the energy
Yeah.
up that central channel, clear it out like a fountain in your head. See, I'm getting like a big feeling up now. But if you're not used to this, it takes a bit of time just to get used to it, you know. So give it a fair trial, you know.
It can do if you're an overthinker.
Absolutely.
Or you don't want to believe, or you can't quite get past your ego mind to trust the belief system that wants to now be installed. But actually, if I would say, you know what, just put your ego mind just 3 steps to the left, and then just imagine that you can do it. And then, just do it. And it's like, it's instant. Because actually, all that is just far too much information.
Absolutely.
We're going back to simple. Keep it simple, silly.
Yeah.
Kiss everything.
I like keep it simple, stupid, because that's the one that I was brought up with, really. But it is, isn't it? If you can just become aware of your breathing, I call it cultivating an inner smile.
Lovely.
And you can smile down the organs, smile through the cells, and then you start to get to know your body then. If you've got a little pain in your left toe, breathe in, take the light, send it down all those channels, and allow it to push out the pain in your little toe.
Absolutely. The inner healer will always want to talk, because we're actually, our inner core, when we get to it, will always want to bring in purification codes. That's its ultimate objective for us, because we're self-regulating all the time, and we have to get back to that knowing, and that's what's happening.
And I agree, and I call that quantum disentanglement.
Yes,
right? It's just,
absolutely.
It's surrendering
Beautiful.
and allowing all this. I see it like a shroud. It's epigenetics, but to me, the epigenetic shroud is just all the shit that's accumulated, and it stopped us from allowing this light to come up and through and express itself out of us. That's why anything like in me running, I'm aware of me breathing in me running, and I'm sending that breath all the way through my cells and stuff like that. I'm still not getting any faster, but at least I'm keeping going. You know what I mean?
But that's the maintenance that you've chosen, right? We all have a way that we want to impart this knowledge and bring it through our consciousness and send it out there. Because as you're running, you're a part of everything. That's the environment that you're creating outside of you. Every bit of you is being infused with the nurture nature of you, and you're pushing it back out. And anything that's coming in that's for you from that innate wisdom that wants to be shared as purification codes, it's also going back out there. This is a symbiotic relationship, whatever we do, wherever we go.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And it's expanding. And I'd just like to say to people is we want to talk about discernment. If something smells fishy, no, seriously. I mean, because you might be clairnoscient or whatever that word is.
No, I am. I am. Because I'm like, oh my God, I smell things out a day or two before they're going to happen.
I'm like a bloodhound, me, honestly, because I can pick like women's things up, right? When even before they know it's on the way, and I think, oh, I better keep out of the way for a while, you know what I mean? But it's using this expanded sensory awareness just to navigate through life a bit more successfully, really. But if you see something and you feel disturbed by it, don't take an action. You don't need to. The only time we need to take any action is when we're in immediate physical danger. That's the only time.
Yes.
Other than that, everything can be stepped back and sat down with. Open your heart and say, will you show me in the clearest way possible what's going on and what action I can take, please? And you're not talking to something outside of yourself. It's a good idea to talk it through with people that you can trust, right? But they're not to give you the solution, because what you're looking for is already
always inside. Yeah. That's right. I never do I never do take anything away from anyone unless it's I actually want, or what I always want to do is I want to teach you how to do it yourself, because once you open that key skill, it's available. This is real choice, isn't it? Choice is to be kind. I always, Joe, want to be so kind if I can. You know, if I can engage, I'm going to be kind. That's my biggest. Let's be kind, let's be loving, and let's do that. But this is choice. There are days when I go, no, I'm not engaging today. I want to stay in my room. I'm just, you know, going to just hang out with me, because actually it's far too busy out there for I can't give any attention to anything. And the choice is getting it right for yourself always.
Yeah.
And it's not about being selfish. I think when you can become selfless to yourself, then you've got enough. You're ready, and then you can share with ease and grace, and then you're no longer compromising yourself, because that's the biggest killer, isn't it? Compromising ourselves to the point that we run ourselves with no energy, and then we have breakdowns, and we don't know where or how that starts, but we give all our power away without even knowing where or why we should. It's this cognitive dissonance. It's in every avenue, isn't it? Really.
I think maybe this has gone on for millions of years and we've not known about it. But that's a story.
I think that we couldn't see.
For that again?
I think that we couldn't see, Joe.
Exactly.
It was on purposely blinded in our third eye. But the thing about our third eye and plasma awareness and Stargate consciousness is actually there's no stopping it.
Oh, no.
It's time. It's our time.
It's like being unplugged, isn't it? The way I see it is the plug's out, but there's all sorts of shit in the tubes. And so we need one of these big power jets, right? And one of those bug brushes to go through like that. And in that process of that, it's a bit disturbing.
And in my imagining of cleaning, I use all those tools. I can offer you and go, there you are. Here is a trolley full of tools. You've got everything on there. What will you use now off that trolley to clean this, what you've just found in that cave or that doorway or that scroll, or, you know, will you burn that? I think that the gift is our imaginal selves, wide awake and alive all the time, wanting engagement. And it's entirely up to us. That's also choice, isn't it?
And as my mother would say when I was a kid, God bless her, you've got an overactive imagination, son. Right. Well, it's back now and it's working for me benefit, you know.
Oh, she's definitely coming to play.
Oh, look, there we go. Look. I'm getting that now. So, Lisa, we've come to time, darling. And
thank you, my love.
No, thank you. And maybe we'll do this further down the line if we get told to. That's fine by me.
Yeah, that'd be lovely, Joe. Thank you.
I'm hoping to maybe get down to Glastonbury a bit and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, well, if you're in Bristol and you're coming through, come and have a cup of tea anytime. Always welcome. And cat too.
Yes, and maybe we'll do one of those festival things again if it all kicks off again, because that was I enjoyed that. It was good fun.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right, my love. Well, thank you, and thank you, everybody. I hope that's you've enjoyed that, and nothing more to say on that note.
Honor you, love you, thank you. Honor you, love you, thank you. Honor you, love you, thank you. All so grateful.
And my percentages are 90, 90, and 80. Fantastic. So some work to do still. Right. Thanks, Lisa. And what I'll do is I'll this recording, I'll upload it and put it on YouTube as well and put that out.
Okay, my love.
Thanks very much.
Look after you.
Love
Take care. Lots of love. Bye for now.